Before we get started, just a quick word from our sponsors. Thank you to Darian for becoming a Patreon sponsor. We really appreciate your support and hope that you enjoyed the Patreon sponsor exclusive podcast episode for October called 5 Reasons to Door Slam Someone. On this episode, we also discussed what to do when your friends and family don't agree with you cutting someone out of your life, and what to do in the aftermath of a door slam. You can help support the Quiet Ones podcast too, and get exclusive podcast episodes, blog posts, and more when you become a sponsor on Patreon for just $5 a month. Sign up today at patreon.com/INFJwoman. Find the link in the show notes. This past week, I launched a new group coaching program called the Growth Mindset Group. The Growth Mindset Group is a membership that helps you overcome the things that challenge INFJs the most. Learn about the INFJ personality type, strengths and weaknesses, mindset shifts, working through your emotions, taking care of your energy, and connecting with your most authentic self. This program includes 2 monthly group coaching calls with me, a short, easy-to-complete homework assignment to challenge you and to help you grow, access to a private Facebook community with INFJs who are looking to grow just like you, and exclusive videos to help you grow and make shifts. Take advantage of the founding members price of $25 a month. The price will go up to $50 a month in January 2020. Group coaching calls start November the 4th. Find the link to sign up in the show notes. Hey there! I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. Monday is such a daunting day for me, honestly. I love the weekends because I'm all by myself, so I get to spend the weekends just relaxing and recharging. So Monday is difficult when it's time to get up at a certain time and go back to work, and yeah, it's challenging. But I'm glad that you're here and we've made it to another week, and that's always something to be thankful for. So in this episode, I want to give you a preview of some of the things that we will be talking about in our group coaching calls for the new program, the Growth Mindset Group. I talk to a lot of INFJs, and there are 2 subjects that come up more than anything else. People are always asking me about feeling guilty and about how to find your confidence. We're going to dive into both of those things in this episode. So let's start with feeling guilty. Have you ever done something for yourself and ended up feeling guilty about doing it? Maybe it's something like you've spent the afternoon getting a massage without your kids, or you sent your husband to the store while you took a bath, or maybe it's something that's quite a bit bigger, something like you moved away from your family to get away from all their drama, or you're finally getting away from your narcissistic husband. You're finally setting boundaries for yourself, but you feel guilty for having to say no to your friends and family members. You feel guilty for taking some time for yourself, even though you give so much to everybody else. So the first thing is, you should celebrate the fact that you were able to set those boundaries, that you were able to do things for yourself. It's so important and so good that you were able to do these things. It's really difficult to learn how to say no to people, especially when you've been a people pleaser for your whole life, and especially when you're saying no to the people who are closest to you. That's so difficult. So you make this big step that you should be really proud of. You're finally setting boundaries, but instead of being happy and feeling proud, you feel guilty. And you don't even know why you feel guilty or where it comes from. But there it is. So let's start there. What is guilt? Guilt is actually one of the social survival emotions, along with hurt and shame. So the social survival emotions are emotions that won't actually hurt us as far as physically hurt us, but they help you to be able to function in society. So guilt is a symptom of violating our own standards or allowing others to violate our standards. Now, what does that mean? Let me give you an example. I had this boss who was terribly narcissistic. He was constantly saying really mean things to me and making me feel awful, like I had no meaning or worth whatsoever. I always felt guilty. It was almost like I felt guilty for just existing, for taking up space. I never understood why I felt like that. It didn't make any sense at all. I knew that I hated the guy and I didn't want to talk to him ever or to be around him at all. In fact, I put all of my effort into getting away from him. But the guilt was puzzling. Why should I feel guilty for him making me feel so bad? Once I started learning about emotions, it started to make more sense. So like I said before, guilt is a symptom of violating our own standards or allowing others to violate our standards. I felt guilty because I was letting him treat me badly. I was staying in that job and not speaking up when he treated me badly. By not saying anything and not leaving, I was consenting to his treatment of me. But at the same time, I knew that I shouldn't put up with it. I knew deep down that I deserved better than that. And that's one of the reasons that I felt guilty. It can show up in another way too, which is when you feel guilty because society or your friends or your family says that you should. So an example of that is a friend of mine was in a terrible relationship. She was married to a guy who was a narcissist, and she dealt with emotional abuse almost all of the time, for years in fact, until she finally decided to get a divorce. So when she left him, she felt so much better right away. She wanted to be happy and she wanted to start going out and meeting new people, but her friends and her family kept asking her if she was okay. They were expecting her to be devastated about her marriage ending. So she felt guilty for not feeling bad. She felt guilty because everyone else thought that she should feel bad. Now, this type of guilt is what society tells us we should do just to keep us in check with everyone else. Does that make sense? So what do we do to get past the guilt and out of that space of feeling icky? The antidote to guilt, the way to fix that feeling, is forgiveness. It's forgiving yourself for allowing people to violate your standards, for staying in that job and letting the guy treat me the way that he did. In order to get past that, I have to forgive myself for doing those things. It's my friend forgiving herself for staying in her marriage with her narc husband for so long, but also forgiving the people who are telling her that she needs to feel bad about not feeling bad. They don't know any better. They're just doing what society has taught them. They're going by what's generally acceptable to the most amount of people. But as soon as you can step into that place of forgiveness for yourself and others, those feelings of guilt will shift. That awareness is enough to recognize that you don't have to feel guilty. You can forgive yourself and shift out of that icky, guilty feeling to something else, something a lot better. You don't have to stay stuck in those feelings. You can have the awareness and start shifting right away. It's as simple as recognizing what's going on and being able to practice forgiveness. The hard part for me as an INFJ is the awareness. I am always focused on the emotions of the people around me and am able to pinpoint what other people are feeling and why they're feeling that way, and I can usually do it pretty quickly. But I have a terrible time recognizing what's going on with me, and that's part of the INFJ personality. It takes being mindful of what you are taking on emotionally. What are you carrying around with you? Does it all even belong to you? Or did you pick it up somewhere else? Did you pick it up from someone else? If you did pick it up, can you put it down? I have to spend time alone in order to be able to sort through all these things. But that's my favorite kind of self-care too, spending time alone. Being able to sort through all of these things that I've picked up from other people and really look at each one of them and say, okay, this doesn't belong to me. I don't need to worry about it. It's okay if I put it down. And sometimes it takes a long time because, as INFJs and as empaths, we pick up a lot from a lot of people. And it's okay to put it down. Okay, before we keep going, let's just take a quick ad break. As an introvert, I hate going to the store and dealing with crowds just to get the basic things I need, like toilet paper and toothpaste. It's so much easier just to have those things shipped straight to my house so that I never run out. With Amazon Prime, you can set up auto shipments and get free shipping as well. Try Amazon Prime free for 30 days. Get unlimited free 2-day shipping with no minimum order. Click the link in the show notes to start your free trial today. I love listening to books with Audible in the car on my way to work or while I'm at work. I've been listening to Todd Herman's The Alter Ego Effect recently, and I'm loving it. Try Audible free for 30 days and get 2 free audiobooks. Audible offers the world's largest selection of digital audiobooks and spoken word content. With Audible, you can listen anytime and anywhere to professionally narrated audiobooks across a wide range of genres. Click the link in the show notes to start your free trial today. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is finding your confidence. There's something that a lot of people experience that's called imposter syndrome. Now, imposter syndrome is the feeling that you are a fraud, that you're not really good enough to do the things that you want to do, or that you don't have it all together. A lot of people experience it, especially when they want to do something like writing or music or art or any kind of self-expression like that. But it can show up in other ways too. It shows up for me sometimes, even when I want to buy a piece of clothing that's different from what I usually wear, or if I want to do my hair differently from how I usually wear it. I don't know about you guys, but I have like a set way of doing my hair. I have a set way of doing my makeup. And if I change it even a little bit, I start to get like really nervous. It takes a lot to change it. And a lot of that is caused by this feeling of imposter syndrome, that feeling like you're a fraud and that you're not good enough. So there's something else that I wanted to tell you about that's called pluralistic ignorance. We know ourselves really, really well. We know all of our own vulnerabilities and all of our insecurities. We know everything that's wrong with us. Since we know ourselves so well, we assume that other people are far more competent because we don't know them the same way that we know ourselves. We just assume that they have everything together, that they have all this confidence and they don't have any issues. We assume that somebody who looks really nice, well, they must know how to buy all of their clothes at the right places, and you know, for all you know, they could be expensive clothes. I don't know about you guys, but I don't really know a lot about that stuff. So if I see somebody who looks nice, my assumption is, oh, well, they must know a lot about clothes. If I see somebody who has nice hair, I think, oh, well, they must spend a lot of time doing their hair. If I see somebody who's written a book, I think, wow, they must be incredibly smart because they wrote a whole book. That's a really hard thing to do. So we see all of our issues and none of their issues, so we just assume that there must be some sort of huge difference between the two of us. That there must be some sort of huge gulf between where they are and where we are. And the only reason that they're doing better than us is that they're more qualified than we are, that they're better at life, they know more. Does this make sense? Have you ever felt this way? Have you ever looked at someone who is super successful or who has this life that you want to live and thought, wow, they really have it all together? What do they know that I don't know? Because we don't see everyone else's issues, their fear, their struggle, their bad days, we assume that we're alone. We think that we are the only ones who feel this way. Especially as INFJs, we feel like we're incredibly misunderstood, but we must be the only ones who are misunderstood. But it's not true. It's not true at all. Every single person in the world feels this way. Even the most successful people in the world have this same problem. Everyone deals with it. You have to realize that you have a voice and a perspective that is new and that it needs to be shared. Why do we assume that we're the only one? It's because we put on this really good show that we have everything together. We have all these beautiful Facebook and Instagram feeds that show the best parts of our lives. And nobody wants to stand up and say, hey, I'm really struggling here. I have no idea what I'm doing or how or why. And I'm just lost and I feel terrible all the time and it's really awful. Everyone is feeling all of these things all the time and it's completely normal. It's just that nobody stands up and says it. But I have a secret that I want to tell you. Are you ready? Okay, here's the secret. The secret is to show up without being perfect. That's how you get over this whole imposter syndrome thing. You just show up. Let go of your need to be perfect. Let go of that need to look perfect and talk perfect and to have the perfect house and the perfect car and the perfect husband and the perfect kids and the perfect job. Let go of all of that need. Let go of the need to do everything perfectly and to show everybody how much you have everything all together and to show everybody how great your life is. Just show up. Just do it messy. Know that the first time that you do something, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be messy and awful, but do it anyway. And keep doing it again and again and again, and it will get better every single time you do it. Every single time, it will get better. Think about when you were young, the first time that you did your makeup, and how it must have looked. I can't imagine that it looked good. I mean, it wasn't very long ago that I started doing makeup, because for the longest time I just thought, well, it's pointless. But the more that I do it, the better that it gets. And like I said, I really only have one way to do my hair, because not only do I feel like I'm not very good at it, but I want it to look nice, but I really don't care that it has to be, super special or anything. I've been told that's an INFJ trait as well. I don't know about that. You guys can let me know about it though. So I wanted to give you some other examples too. One of my examples is a couple of years ago, I wanted to start running. So being a terrible perfectionist, I hired the best running coach I could find. I couldn't really afford him and he was super expensive. But I wanted to be good at running and I wanted to lose some weight, so I thought, well, he's the best, so we'll go with that. Maybe he has some special information to share with me, some special tricks that make it easier. So I start going to these classes that he has with all these really good runners, and I start doing one-on-one training sessions, paying him all this money, and I asked him, what's the trick? How do you get to be good at this? Because it's really hard, and I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. I must be doing something wrong, I'm positive. He's like, no, you're not doing anything wrong. You're doing really good. It's just hard. Running is really hard. And you're not doing it wrong. It's just hard, but everyone feels that way. And somehow, just that knowledge made me feel so much better. Running wasn't easier, but the knowledge that I was the same as everyone else, and it was hard for everyone else, it made me feel better. There was one thing that made running easier, though. You know what it was? It's running. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And it doesn't get necessarily easier, it's just that you get stronger. You get better. You get more confidence the more that you do it. And that's what makes it easier. So another story that I wanted to share with you is about writing. And a lot of INFJs tell me that they want to write, but they don't feel like they're good enough writers to share what they know, or they feel like they don't have anything to share. Now, I struggled with the idea of writing for a long time before I finally decided to just do it. I didn't know what to write. I knew for sure that what I had to say was not good enough, that no one would ever read it, so what's the point, right? But the idea kept coming back, so I thought, okay, maybe there's something to this. When something won't leave me alone like that, I usually have to explore it quite a bit more. I can't just let it go. So I thought, okay, it's not going to be perfect, but I'm going to do it anyway. Maybe one person will read it and not hate it. Maybe it will even help them. If I can just help one person, then it's worth writing. So I wrote it and I hit publish and I waited. I was positive something bad was going to happen. I was positive somebody was going to comment and be like, oh my God, that's so terrible. Why would you write that? But you know what happened? Nothing happened. No one ever commented anything like that. I was positive that they would, but nobody did. In fact, it actually took a couple of months before anybody even started reading it. But when people did start reading what I was writing, they loved it. And they said things like, I'm so glad that you write. It helps me so much. Now, obviously, there have been some negative comments because not everybody is always going to agree with you, but the negative comments are so much less than the positive ones that it's a whole lot easier now for me to overlook them. Plus, I have a lot more confidence now about writing than what I did when I first started. So I'm telling you this story because I know that you too have a story that somebody needs to hear. Even though there are a million people who write blogs, you have a unique perspective that only you can share. You have a unique experience that only you have experienced. And the best way to get started is to just start. Just show up with what you have now, with what you know now. Just start. Do it messy, do it scared. It will get better as you go along, but it will never get better if you don't start somewhere. And I'll tell you a secret about that too. People don't want someone who's perfect. They don't want a PhD level expert. They want someone who's human. They want someone that they can relate to, someone that is real and honest with them. I used to think that the reason that I wasn't good at making friends was because I wasn't perfect. I'm not a tall, skinny, beautiful model. That just wasn't in the cards for me. But I thought that if I could be that, or a facsimile of that, then I would have tons of friends. But what I learned was that I was just looking for friends in the wrong places. I was looking for friends in the wrong people as well. What I needed to do was find my people, the ones who were like me that I could relate to and who could relate to me. And once I did that, everything changed. I mean, if I was perfect, I wouldn't have anything to talk to them about. We spend a lot of time talking about how to lose weight and exercise and, hey, did you drink your water today? We also spend a lot of time talking about how awkward we are and how we avoid other people at work and how we hate mandatory fun days. I mean, I can't think of anything we would talk about if everything was perfect. The key here is to give yourself permission to be who you are exactly as you are right now. Not when you were the perfect writer, not when you lose 50 pounds, not when you get away from your husband or when you get into a different job, but right now, just as you are now. And what happens is when you give yourself that permission to be able to be who you are, that gives other people permission to be who they are. And that's what everybody wants. Everyone in the whole world wants to be seen and accepted just as they are. You have to release the shame, the guilt, the perfectionism, and accept yourself just as you are right now. To know that what you are and who you are is enough. You are enough. If you only remember one thing that we talk about today, that's what I want you to remember. You are enough. You are lovable and valuable and perfect just the way you are. You are enough to be able to step out into the world and to do the things that you want to do. And do you know what happens when you're able to do that? You will attract the kinds of friends in your life that you need. You will attract the kind of job that you need and the kind of significant other that you need as well. Like attracts like, right? Wouldn't you rather be around someone who was real than someone who was perfect anyway? I know I certainly would. And I know that this is very true for me. Acceptance isn't a one-time thing for me, though. A lot of people talk about it like, cool, accept yourself and you're good to go. And that makes sense until I get up in the morning and I look in the mirror and I'm struggling all over again. Or until I write that blog post or record that podcast episode and I feel like I'm a fraud all over again. So for me, self-acceptance is like a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. But if you do use it, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger every time you use it. And I've noticed that the more gentle that I am with myself, that when I'm careful about the thoughts that I have about myself, and the more grace I show myself when I fail or when I freak out or get overwhelmed, the more forgiveness that I practice when I don't stand up for myself the first time, or when I eat the thing that I know I shouldn't eat, I feel better as a whole. I am a very all or nothing type of person. I want to do everything right the first time, or I don't ever want to do it at all. But I'm learning that taking small steps is so much easier. It's a lot less stress and a lot less overwhelming and just as effective in the long run. I recently moved into a new apartment all by myself. I put all my things in my car and got to my new place, which is down 3 flights of stairs. And it was like 90 degrees on the day that I was moving too. So I moved a few boxes and I got really hot and really dizzy and I thought I was going to fall down the stairs for sure. So I stopped. I was like, nope, not doing this, not today. This is not going to work. So I was like, okay, I'll just wait for a cooler day. I'll move it this weekend. And the weekend came and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll move it next weekend. And I kept looking at the boxes in my car going, I really need to get those downstairs. So what I did was I thought, okay, I have to walk down the stairs every time I go down to my apartment, like when I get home from work, so maybe I'll just take a box with me when I go down the stairs. So I did that one day, and then I did it the next day, and I did it the next day, and before I knew it, all the boxes were downstairs. And I was like, look at that. I mean, it took 2 weeks, but I did get everything downstairs, and if I would have done it the first 2 weeks that they were in my car, it would have gotten done a lot quicker. I know this is probably a concept that you've heard before, and hopefully it's something that you practice in your life, but it's a whole new thing for me because I'm usually a let's do it all right now type of person. I'm not a let's pace ourselves. I'm not a take small steps type of person. I'm usually a let's make a really big leap type of person. So I wanted to share that with you just in case you're all or nothing too. I wanted to encourage you to think about taking small steps because taking small steps is just as effective in the long run as doing something really big right now all at once. I'm starting to look at self-acceptance that way too. Maybe it's not an all or nothing type of concept. Maybe instead it's just picking out a few things about yourself that you like and building off of those things. Focus on what you like and keep going, and little by little you'll get there. So that's it. That's how you find confidence, and that's how you get rid of that icky feeling of guilt. Well, that's the start of both of them. I hope that you learned a lot here, and if you're interested in learning more and continuing to grow and learn and make shifts in your life, I really hope that you'll check out my new program. It's called the Growth Mindset Group. And just as a refresher, it's a membership program that helps you overcome the things that challenge INFJs the most. So we're going to learn about things about the INFJ personality type, our strengths and weaknesses, how to make mindset shifts, how to work through your emotions, and how to protect your energy. So is this group right for you? It's definitely right for you if you're an INFJ and you're struggling with things like feeling guilty, not having enough confidence, giving all of your energy to everyone else, feeling like you are stuck or lost, if you want to make changes in your life but you don't know how, if you have friends or family members who are toxic or narcissistic and you want to learn how to set boundaries and or get away from them, and you want to overcome limiting beliefs and connect to your most authentic self and become the most emotionally healthy version of yourself that you can be. If all of this sounds like you, this program is definitely for you, and we would love to have you as a part of the group. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me a message on Instagram at INFJWoman or an email. My email is podcast@infjwoman.com. And again, the link to sign up is in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. You have no idea how much I appreciate you. If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes or wherever you listen. It helps other people to be able to find us. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you again next week.